welcome, ladies and gentlemen, on Business Today Television. We continue in providing you access to the finest individuals and professionals on Dalal Street. At the moment, the sentiment on the market has improved dramatically. Oil has slipped, the rupee has appreciated, and the RBI has held status quo. To discuss the way forward as far as where the markets are headed, we are now joined by Mr. Vaibhav Sanghavi. He's the CEO of ASK Hedge Solutions. Namaste, Vaibhav ji, and a very warm welcome.
And namaskar and very warm welcome to you.
How are you watching sentiment on Dalal Street today?
See, I think when we talk about the sentiment, what we have seen, right, in terms of the last 2 months, vis-a-vis what we have seen in last 1.5 years, I think we can clearly say there is a marked shift in terms of how the markets are likely to do going forward from here onwards, not only with respect to sentiments, but on an overall perspective, including all the macro and micro fundamentals which we are looking at. So I think at the margin, incrementally, we are continuing to see, markets turning into much more constructive mode, at least from a near to medium term perspective.
Right. Vaibhavji, because you are in the world of futures and options, it is critical to find out which side of the bed you are getting on. Are you more long than short, or are you more short than long on the Indian market? The next set of questions will follow your answer.
Sure. So I think if you would have asked me the same question in our earlier kind of interactions, then you would have noticed there was a marked, I would say, tone in terms of the challenging environment and the challenging position, in the sense that we were pretty much low in terms of the net exposures and on the gross basis as well, purely because of the uncertainty around, again, a few months ago. As we stand, and because of whatever has happened in the last couple of months, both on the macro and the micro side, we are now getting kind of bullish and probably have turned our positions into getting net long from an overall portfolio perspective.
Okay. What made you change your stance? Was it the strength in the rupee, the FCNRB deposits? What was the trigger point?
See, I think few trigger points for sure, but to understand those trigger points, let's also understand why in the last 1.5 years we'd seen the markets very, very subdued and a sentiment which was extremely, I would say, volatile. Now, few of the reasons. One, of course, the whole conflict on the Middle East side, because of which the oil, what we saw, a few months ago, it kind of touched $210, on the Brent. But to be very honest, on the spot, actually it was about $140, $150. So, which is a very sizable expenditure, from an economic standpoint. Not only that, we were also encountered with, while higher valuations 1.5 to 2 years ago, with diminishing earning growth prospects. And lastly, that from a regional standpoint, a lot constructive trade in terms of the AI trade as well, which in India was not present. So as a culmination of all of these factors is where we saw that our markets was kind of very subdued in the sentiments being hit hard. Now in the last 2 months, we have seen changes on each of those parameters. One, of course, that while the Middle East situation is still volatile, what we've seen a very constructive price depreciation in terms of the oil. As we say, it is now sub 80. And my sense is basically, I think if the oil continues to remain low, it's great for India economy as a perspective. Second, from an earnings standpoint and the valuations, in spite of whatever turbulence has been happening, I think the earnings have been pretty robust, with the corporate commentary also pretty encouraging. Valuations have corrected, time correction has gone by, and the relative premium with which we were trading as compared to the overall emerging market basket has now kind of reduced dramatically. Lastly, from an AI trade perspective, we've seen what has happened in China, Taiwan, and Korea very recently. I think investors are now starting to have a relook at India, and by which clear evidence is basically in the last 1 month we've seen positive FPI flows as well. So all in all, in addition to what the government has taken in terms of steps in FCNR deposits, ECB, and taxation on the GSEC, my sense is basically we should be seeing a stronger market with stronger rupee and much favorable kind of macros going forward. So all of these factors which were negative have now turned probably neutral to positive.
I think the unwinding of the AI trade has been one of the major contributors for at least the selling to pause in India, which was really, amongst the last straws on the back of the Lal Street. Be that as it may, now, Vaibhavji, where exactly is Delta for an FNO trader? When you look at Q1, what enthuses you within the 214 shares that have futures in the FNO space? And as you very rightly mentioned, you are long, net long. So where have those positions been rolled over or added on the positive side?
Sure, sure. So I think I will be able to mention the sectors where we are very constructive in our view. And within that, the biggest delta which we have had in the last 2 months from where we were earlier in terms of neutral to negative, now we have turned positive. And this is a sector which is financials. And financials which is led by private banks and the NBFCs. So that's a segment where we do think that the whole kind of development in terms of the FCNRs, getting cheaper deposits, increasing liquidity into the system, reducing the cost of funds, and probably gives a good support in terms of the net interest margin. Now, while growth on the credit side has been pretty strong in the last quarters, this only helps in terms of the better profitability and better ROs and ROEs. So my sense is basically this is a space where FPI selling has now ebbed. Two, fundamentals pretty much strongly in place. And three, and catalyst in terms of FCNR and reduced cost of deposit is something which we do think that this augurs really well, at least for the next 1 to 2 years, from an overall sector standpoint. So that's one which we have seen good sizable change. Second, I think we continue to be bullish on the whole data center theme. And when we talk about data center theme, is the pick and shovels theme where whatever goes into manufacturing or probably putting up the whole data center is what we would want to play. So for example, something like from a diesel gensets to transformers, chiller equipments, electrical equipment, switch gears, and last but not the least is the utilities as well. So the whole space in relation with the whole data center is something we are very constructive on, at least from a medium to longer term perspective. Of course, there we can see the pockets of little higher valuations, but if the growth continues to support, then that theme should continue to do well. And lastly, the CDMO plays, where we do think that because of the tailwind of a Biosecure Act, these guys or the companies in the CDMO space will continue to do well.
Absolutely. I think this is one of the most prescient explanations I have seen and heard in terms of where lies growth. Because the very nature of the business at your end seeks momentum. Vaibhavji, were you a participant in this magnificent rally that we saw in the IT space? We are very fortunate to have, I think, 11 IT stocks in the FNO space. How did you navigate that in the month of July when the index itself rose 18%?
See, I think IT space, to be very honest, is a very tricky space in our view. And which is why we have, to be very honest, completely avoided that sector rather than going long or short, either of those. Why we are saying that is because, a month ago, we could have easily seen that the valuations were at such a level which were pretty cheap and kind of pretty attractive. Having said that, while valuations were cheap, the free cash flow yield was pretty good. On the other side, we have, some concerns have not gone away in terms of the potential pressures on the top line, along with the margin pressures as well going forward. Now, from a sizable rupee depreciation, I think they have got the tailwinds, they've got the cushion in terms of investments into the whole AI space. But my view would be that I would still wait probably for more than 6 months to see how that space is kind of developing. Intuitively, it does look like that that revenue pressure will continue going forward as well. So we are, to be very honest, kind of as a sector, we are staying away.
Okay, you are net long positive. Where are you short, and why?
So I think when we are talking about relative underperformer as a sector, I think commodities as a space, is something which we are kind of on a relative basis. We do think that will continue to underperform. In addition to that, I think there are few bottom-up opportunities which may probably arise. There were few consumer results which were not exactly to our expectations, and that's where probably we are on a relative basis kind of on a underperformer in within our system. So yes, some consumers place, some commodities, metals places, and within financial sectors as well. PSU sector is something which we are currently avoiding purely because of the valuation differential between the private and the public sector banks. So those are the kind of that's the kind of basket which we're looking to be on the underperformer side.
Okay. When you look at the percentage of net long as also the value of net long versus net short, what would be that as far as the overall portfolio is concerned?
Chandra, I think we really operate in a very tight band. Probably plus minus 15 to 20% max. So for us, it's not about largely about the direction of the market which we are looking at, either upwards or downwards. I think it's identification of those themes within the market movement is what we are focused on. Having said that, there is a limited ability for us to take that positive or negative exposure, and that is what we have utilized at this point in time to be marginally long, from a market standpoint. So even if we are bullish, you will never find us, being excessively long or leveraged kind of from a product standpoint.
You mentioned a slightly less than optimistic stance on commodities. How would you view oil?
Yeah, I think the moment the Middle East conflict kind of solves, in some I would say decent or a very consistent manner, then my sense is that oil goes back to probably $60 to $65, right? It is very clear that within the OPEC as well, there isn't a unanimous or probably unity in terms of controlling the output of oil. So I think the production numbers would be big purely because every of those economies would need a lot of money to kind of rebuild whatever it is needed. So you will see that oil will come under tremendous amount of pressure. Having said that, if the conflict kind of continues, then we may see hardened oil price probably for a shorter period of time. But secularly, I think it has to go down.
Fair point. a view that you might have on the FCNRB deposit, because you are so deeply watching the liquidity in the cash market as also the money market. What is the view on FCNRB?
I think what traction we have seen till now is extremely encouraging. I wouldn't be surprised that within the
Yes.
next couple of months, I think uh, we may even reach probably anywhere between 80 to 100 billion dollars. I mean, I would not be surprised. And if that is the case, then clearly we have INR pretty much in control, domestic liquidity abundant, interest rates on a wholesale deposit or a wholesale cost, I think is not going up. So, which is where I did mention that uh, due to what the government has done, I think with one measure they have killed many problems. And my sense is basically this augurs really well from a macro standpoint, along with banking as a sector itself. So yes, we would be closely tracking to the numbers which are coming about from the FCNRB, but it's a fantastic start, till now.
Okay, wonderful. We'll pause it here, Vaibhavji. Always such a pleasure listening to your very well articulated and reasoned thoughts. You always are, tossing and turning between long and short, but the logic behind that is wonderful, wonderfully appreciated. Thank you for your time, sir, and have a
Thank you
nice
very
day.
much. Thank you very much.
This, ladies and gentlemen, was Mr. Vaibhav Sanghavi, the CEO of ASK Raymond Hedge Solutions. Thank you for watching. We'll be back shortly.